Now, I want to have a look at this. We've talked a few times about the propensity for foreign buyers to buy houses around certain parts of Melbourne, and some real estate agents estimate significant increases in the price of houses because of it. There are restrictions on what can be bought and what can be done with what's bought, but we're also getting a message that these restrictions are pretty well ignored. Kelly O'Dwyer, the member for Higgins, is chairing a federal parliamentary committee that is now reviewing the laws governing foreign investment in residential real estate. Kelly O'Dwyer, good morning.
Good morning, Neil. Good to be with you.
Well, yeah, thanks very much for your time. Are people getting around the rules?
Well, this is exactly what the inquiry is going to look at. We've got a pretty clear foreign investment policy in place, and it has clear rules around residential property. It's intended to boost residential property and the supply of new housing, providing economic and social benefits. But there are people who cannot apply to get residential property because they're non-residents, they're foreigners, and, you know, there are concerns that perhaps they're not adhering to the rules in the way that they should be.
Well, the Real Estate Institute at the weekend said foreign buyers were buying existing homes, demolishing them and building new, bigger homes. They particularly mentioned Balwyn and Glen Waverley. Is that a breach of the Foreign Investment Review Board rules?
Well, if they haven't received prior approval from the Foreign Investment Review Board, and I can't see why they would for something like that, then yes, it would potentially be in breach. Now, you were asking about the penalties before, Neil, regarding breaches.
Yeah.
We've got some pretty significant penalties. We can actually divest land if we find out that people have done the wrong thing, contrary to the foreign investment framework. The only problem with that is that under the current rules that apply now, let's say it's taken a couple of years before you discover that someone's done the wrong thing, and let's say that in that time the property value has gone up by quite a significant margin. The biggest fine you can give people at the moment is around about $85,000. You can sell up the property. The taxes that apply, the CGT taxes that apply, obviously apply to that too. But ultimately, that person, if they've seen an increase in the property, can currently keep the windfall gain. And, you know, our committee is going to look at whether or not that's right.
Is it allowable then for somebody to buy an existing house, knock it down and build a new one?
Is it allowed at the moment?
Yeah.
Well, people can do that. They're meant to be able to increase the dwelling stock.
What does that mean?
So if you knock down an existing property, you're meant to really be increasing the size of the stock that's available.
So you could knock down existing property but build units or something?
Two or units or something like that. So I can't see how that would fit within the current foreign investment policy framework.
And what if I
described.
All right, and if I'm a foreign investor, I'm not allowed to buy a house just to keep or to rent? To rent?
No. Well, you can rent a house.
But can I buy one and rent it out?
No.
Well, that's certainly happening, isn't it?
Well, this is what the committee is actually going to look at. We're going to look at all of the facts that are available. We're going to have a holistic review. It's not targeted at anybody in particular, but it's appropriate that we actually look at this issue. It's an important issue for many Australians, particularly those who are looking to purchase their home, a home for themselves or for their family. And I think it's appropriate we make sure that our current foreign investment framework is working as it is intended to.
So is the premise that this may be forcing prices up?
That's the question that's been asked. It was asked to the Reserve Bank Governor only the other day when we had an oversight hearing of the Reserve Bank, and he said obviously foreign investment does distort prices. He was pretty sanguine about whether or not it's having a distorting effect here, but we certainly know in other countries it has. You only need to look to Canada to know that increased housing prices there have led to a shutdown of one of their existing schemes, and you only need to look to Hong Kong to know that in Hong Kong a couple of years ago they hit foreign investors with a 15% tax.
So when can a foreign investor legally buy an existing property?
When can they legally buy it? Well, if they're a temporary resident. If they're a temporary resident, they can purchase, with Foreign Investment Review Board approval, a dwelling in which to live. That's what they're entitled to do.
And no other circumstance. Well, other circumstances they can buy. They can buy if they're going to build, can't they?
Well, they can purchase, the rules are broader for new dwellings because we want to add to existing stock. So they can also purchase potentially off the plan for new dwellings if the developer's got pre-approval. It's quite a complex area, Neil, actually. So there are circumstances where people can do that, but they certainly cannot purchase investment properties. That's clear under the foreign investment framework at the moment because, again, as I emphasised to you, it's meant to be for the benefit of all Australians to increase the housing stock. That's where foreign investment has a great social benefit and social good.
Well, I keep getting anecdotal evidence, admittedly, about massive advertising campaigns in Mandarin, but also people buying up houses or a number of houses and leaving them empty. Why would that be?
Well, that's a good question, and Neil, it's another question that the Economics Committee, I think, will look at during this inquiry, looking at occupancy levels and looking at housing stock that's been left vacant. The current rules that apply to somebody who's a permanent resident who then leaves Australia is that they need to sell the property that they have purchased. Again, we're going to look at whether or not those laws are being complied with.
Are these laws policed?
The Foreign Investment Review Board polices them. We're going to look at whether they do a good job at that.
All right. When do you start your hearings?
We start our hearings after the 9th of May. We're receiving submissions up until the 19th of May, and shortly thereafter we'll be having hearings in most states.
Do you want to hear from members of the public?
Absolutely. And I would encourage anybody who has any evidence that they would like to present to the committee to actually log on to the Australian Parliament House website, go to the committee section, look at the terms of reference, and you'll be able to make a submission.
Okay, so the best way to do it's online, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you very much. The member for Higgins and Chair of the committee, Kelly O'Dwyer. Okay, go to the Parliament House website, have a look at the committees if you want to get into it.